Welcome everyone to another edition of Late Night on Base. I'm your host Bill the Bull. Today, super excited to have one of the most well-respected key opinion leaders in the game, not just on base but on all chains. Bullrun Gravano. Gravano, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Bill.
No, the pleasure's all mine. I was kind of telling you beforehand. I followed your journey, or not your journey, but I followed you in particular for many years. You've been in this game, and we'll dive deep into your journey. But you've been in this game for a long, long time. You've kept getting better and better over the years, and so it's nice to kind of connect with you, have you share your stories because there's so many people in your community that follow you and your advice and your opinions, and they take weight into that. So to put a face behind your brand is good. But Gravano, let me ask you. So for those that might be, tuning into Spotify first time, maybe they're new, one of the 1 billion plus normies, quote unquote, who have never heard of you. Maybe they listened to my Jesse Pollock video on Pods Media. Maybe they came across Coinbase Wallets, never heard of you, Spotify, YouTube. If you don't mind, Bullrun Gravano, who is Gravano?
Sure. So I'm sure there's plenty of people out there in the space who have never heard of me before, even though I've been here since 2017. But start from the beginning. I had a 20-year career in IT and unified communications. I worked in New York City for several years. One of my biggest clients was Morgan Stanley. And so my background kind of came from I had about 100 engineers that I managed in New York City, in Midtown and down on Wall Street, and we supported a lot of the market data trading apps and even the hardware, like the phone systems and the terminals and things like that. So where that kind of tied me into crypto was I spent a lot of time on the trading floor around traders, and guys would teach me how to read charts and how to execute trades, simple things like that, because it wasn't necessarily my field, but the excitement at the time that I was in the city. We're going a ways back. Won't give you the exact dates; it'll age me. But there was a lot of hype in the market. The housing market was booming. And even though what I did was a little bit different, wasn't necessarily in financials, I had an interest. And again, the guys that I hung around with in New York, it was just like, it was an exciting thing to be around. So learning how to do that gave me an opportunity to transition into crypto fairly easily. I was able to read charts on a very basic level. I could execute trades. I could do some simple technical analysis. Even to this day, I'm not like a pro at TA, but I understand trends. I understand how to read volume. I know what to look for when it comes to that, and that kind of led into one day in 2017. My brother actually told me about Ethereum, and it wasn't even Bitcoin at first that I got an interest in. It was actually Ethereum. I think I made a purchase at about $150 for Ethereum, and on day one, I was kind of hooked. There's that anxiousness and adrenaline and everything that goes with it when you're watching a trade. I was also, shortly after that, I purchased Bitcoin at about $3,000, and after after getting into it, this was mid to late 2017. So I think we peaked somewhere around December, January. And I actually, like so many other people, took a massive hit. I round trip everything, right? And that gave me an opportunity over the next couple of years to kind of learn about the space, learn about who the people were behind it, the history of Bitcoin, learn about exchanges and how they operate. Again, this many years ago, everything was different. The entire landscape was very different, very rudimentary. But I had a good 2 or 3 years of a bear market to kind of learn about the space. And over that time, all I was doing was, I found Twitter at the time, X now, and I was just kind of going out there and posting some of my opinions. Again, using some of the basic, simple TA that I had learned in previous years, my last job, and this was kind of by accident that I built a community and a following. People, some people liked what I had to say. I engaged with them, and I found kind of, excuse me, the secret behind social media and the attention economy. A lot of it was wrapped around just engaging with people who engaged you. And over the next handful of years, I just continued to do that. One thing led to another, and before you knew it, I had a fairly large community. And then Telegram came around, and I decided, why don't I take it there and build a small community of my own on Telegram, posting everything from simple setups to fundamental coins that I was interested in, and kind of like just asking other people, what do you think of this? Kind of, it wasn't like, here I am, the professional, and I'm telling you what the setups are and what you should go out and buy. And I've never been like that. I've never been the person that tells you what you should go out and buy. It's always, simply what my opinions are and what I think looks like a good opportunity. And I would just bounce ideas off of other people. Eventually, there were project leaders that started joining the community, other C-level employees for businesses that were joining and engaging. And I was just going back and forth. And, kind of to make a long story short, that's how this all snowballed into where I am today. Again, it was kind of on accident. And, in 2020, that was when that's when I basically retired from corporate life, and I started doing this full time. And 2021 was a huge year for me and a lot of other people. And there's been, it's been no looking back ever since then.
I love it. I think that's funny you talk about the 2017 cycle. That was actually my first cycle as well. And that was a cycle where, if for people who weren't around, that was a completely different landscape than it is now. There was no decentralized exchanges. It wasn't like Uniswap. It wasn't like your meme coins. It was like Asia narrative. I used to ape into like Walton Chain and like V Chain and like those like complete garbage coins. And it was fun. And I, like many people, I round tripped and I learned myself. But that's a really cool, interesting story. You didn't intend to be this influencer, but it just kind of stumbled. And I think, yeah, that's awesome. And I think one of the things that kind of separates you from a lot of other people, and you say it yourself, is you're willing to engage with your community. It's not, there's a lot of people out there who just post things and they don't reply to their community. The community might respond in the messages, and they just like are treated like second class citizens. But you actively engage, you actively want to know their opinions, and it's helped you. Would it be safe to assume that's kind of help you be more relatable to them, to help build your following by engaging?
Yeah, and it wasn't even with the intention of being more relatable. It was understanding and kind of acknowledging that I don't know everything in this space. I'm learning like everybody else is, right? I may have more years of experience, so I may know the history a little bit and how it's evolved, but the follower count that's tagged to my my X profile doesn't really identify who I am or the level of professionalism or how much I know, right? It's something I accumulated over time, and it was through engaging other people, and people like the interaction. Like, we could bounce ideas off of each other, and that's kind of how I built the following. But I think what some people don't do once they built a big community, maybe 100,000 followers or more, what they sometimes don't realize is that there are these small accounts. They may only have a few hundred followers, but they have a wealth of knowledge. And if you overlook that and you don't take the time to engage those people, and people come to you with good ideas all the time. It has nothing to do with the number of followers that they have on social media. Um, but if you overlook that and you don't engage with those people, you miss out on opportunities all the time. And you miss out on, an opportunity to meet somebody who's like-minded and really can bring value to you. You can learn something from them, and you can they may be connected to another project or something, another platform or something like that. And really, I think that came from my previous career in history, working as more of like a um, in an executive role, talking to other C-level employees, that where you just, you learn to build relationships with people, you engage them, you find out what their strengths are, and you just acknowledge, you have a little humility, and you acknowledge that I'm not always the smartest person in the room, and me, I will always come with the expectation that I'm never the smartest person in the room. There's always somebody smarter out there that I could be learning from. And I think that kind of worked to my benefit over time with, picking up a bit more of a following and having people who appreciated the engagement.
That's a fantastic mindset. You throw your ego out the door. None of us are the smartest people in the room. If we're the smartest people in the room, there's a saying, you're in the wrong room. You don't want to be the smartest. You
Right.
want to be around people who you can learn from. In life, you never stop learning. So, yeah, and just briefly to your point, some of the smaller accounts actually are the ones with the most alpha because they're the biggest. Maybe they haven't built a following, but they're this in the trenches. They don't care. And so I never discredit anyone's follower account as well. So let me ask you, Gravano. You've been around for a while. You've had tons of legendary calls, tons of things that you're proud of. What would be, in your opinion, your most legendary call?
I don't know if I would have one call that stands out. Um, and again, I made some good calls, but I'd have to credit a lot of those good calls to my network, people that I've worked with in the past too. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I co-founded a VC, and we did really well in 2021 during the bull market, and we met so many different project leaders, and so many startups came to us, and we vetted out so many different projects during that time that I found gems that way. Projects coming, and soliciting their startup to me in my business. Other guys, my partners in the business who would come to me with alpha, people that other influencers, other people on social media who, again, I just networked with and built relationships with, that came to me with alpha. Um, that's where I credit a lot of my good calls too. But back in the day, there were, like there was a metaverse project, Blocktopia, which I did extremely well on. That probably did like a 500x.
Wow.
Paid Network. I don't know if you know who Kyle Chasse
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Legendary in this space. I was an early investor in Paid Network. I think that did like a 200x. Nakamoto Games, in the gaming industry. Great gaming ecosystem. Did really well on that. Again, Ethereum did really well for me. Bitcoin at 3,000 was a great investment. And then the meme cycle came around, and things changed a bit, and a new stream of opportunity came in, and I transitioned a bit, especially during the bear market, where a lot of those fundamentally sound projects with not the greatest tokenomics,
Mm.
um, they kind of took a nosedive. Again, a lot of angel round and private round investors were getting their allocations, and they were selling them off, and you see the chart just tank on you. So it was easier to go with something that was more of a fair economy, which to me was meme coins, right? It's not VC funded. There weren't a lot of lockups. There was less insiders. It was, the people who had nothing had an opportunity to get rich, and
Mhm.
that's not typically the way it goes with you know, VC funded rounds, angel rounds, things like that. You have to have something to make something, right? So I did have some really big ones, even more recently. One that you really that you know very well, Miggles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was a great one that I got in. I think it maybe $2 or $3 million market cap, and that went well over 110, maybe $115 million market cap. It's retraced, but it's with the base ecosystem, it's ready to launch again. And I'm still heavily invested in that. On Solana, Lil Bub CTO, I was in that somewhere between 5 and 800,000 market cap, and that went to 40 million. And
Wow.
still in that one. MAGA Hat on ETH is
Mm-hmm.
another one. I probably did 100, 150x on that one. So again, I'm not the guy who comes out shouting about doing 1,000x on everything. And I think there are people who will come out and kind of solicit praise for that call where they called something at $7,000 market cap, and then and it blew up. But when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, the coin may never have been really that liquid, even as the market cap went up a bit. So it wasn't always the number of X's. It was really, what I called early, and where people had good, if they wanted to exit, good liquidity to exit without tanking the price, and getting the maximum return on their investment. So yeah, there was a handful, and I'm still out there, even on days like today when the market is crap today.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still opportunities. You sit in front of that monitor long enough, and you follow the right people, and you look for the right opportunities. You don't have to always be the guy who's getting in first, but you
Absolutely.
want to be the guy who's getting in early, and the guy who's not holding a bag at the end, because a lot of these coins, there's a very low percentage of coins that pump extremely hard and then stay up there, right?
Yeah.
So there's always the fundamental idea of peeling off profits, and if you have conviction in something, holding a bag and staying fairly loyal to the community that you've been working with. Or in my position, I call something, and I hate to say call something, but like more like I talk about something. I have kind of, feel like a responsibility,
Mm.
to kind of hang on to that bag and continue talking about it, and not, you don't want to just be a rotator, especially in my position.
Sure.
Just not a good look.
Absolutely. Now, people ideally, I think you have the right mentality. Obviously, shave off profits. You can't go wrong taking profits. If you believe in a project, then it's a win-win because you shaved off profits, and then you can always rebuy it at a lower price. Let me ask you just a brief question, because I know this cycle is driven by memes, and I know you were talking about your venture capital firm, and that was the last cycle where you had these, most of the deal flow would be seed rounds and all that. And I think that model has completely changed because of the meme cycle, and what you were saying. It gives more of an equal opportunity to level the playing field. You don't have to deal with token unlocks and stuff. Is your VC firm still around, or have you just kind of shifted to it?
They are. My partners are still running it. I've gone more the individual route, and
Okay.
we still have a very good relationship. I still feed them opportunities if they come along. We still talk frequently, but I, over the last few months, kind of ventured out on my own. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're called Moon Boots Capital. Great VC, great couple of guys who run the show over there, and yeah, they've been partners and friends of mine for about 4 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah, just was curious because yeah, I've seen the model shifting strict more towards the meme fair launch, quote unquote, even though, insiders get in early. But I think token unlocks are something that can really be detrimental. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
There's also, the advantages of seeding great investments in companies that wouldn't have the chance. So there's pros and cons. All right, so Gravano, I want to talk about base. I want to talk about altcoinist, and we're gonna get to it. You're a
Sure.
part of all change. You're in the trenches. This is what I mean by in the trenches. When I say that, it's about person, not just on one chain, not just a maxi. You see opportunity, you take it. You talked about Ethereum, you talked about Solana, obviously in base. I want to know kind of two things. Number one, what is at the moment your favorite chain or the one that you're most optimistic on, that you like? Is it base? Is it something else? And number two, I want to also know, and we'll get into CTOs, what is it about CTOs that make you so bullish? Those are two questions I really want you to answer.
Sure. So going into the later portion of 2024 into 2025, I'm probably the most bullish on base chain.
Okay.
Um,
Why?
so you look at Coinbase, and they've been around, what, maybe 12 years? And their user base has grown exponentially over the last 12 years. They come out with a layer 2 that is cheap and fast and can, and they're doing a great marketing job to get developers to come build on it. I really, there's an excitement there for me to know that you have an established company that has shown year over year growth, whether it's user base, revenue generating, and they've been building their platform and onboarding new dApps month over month, and being really successful at that. And their leaders, like Jesse Pollak, have been in front of the user base, in front of the builders out there. He was just, I think, a couple months ago at On-Chain Summit out in San Francisco, and I watched some of his interviews, and there's a likeness that I have towards him. He's very approachable. He's very in tune with the builders and the investors. And I love the fact that he's now started to adopt the meme coin philosophy. Now, Solana's been around for a while, right? But there are so many, there's just so many projects getting launched on Solana every single day, right? And a very, very, very small percentage of them are successful. Most of them don't even last 24 hours, right? And it's really hard for somebody who's kind of scouring the chain looking for a gem to find a good opportunity. That's why, probably 95% of the people on social media who are looking for an opportunity, or who are scouring the chain, or some of these different platforms, it's very rare for them to find those gems, unless they're just following the right person and they're jumping on for the ride, because there are influencers out there who really are good at finding gems. Or if you have an opportunity to track the right whale wallets, things like that, right? But you have to be kind of clever at how you do that. On base chain, right now, it's a little bit more quality over quantity, right? There's only a handful of memes out there that are really at the, if you look at the top 10 memes on base chain, they're quality and they've been there, and it's just easy. It's easy to find them, and there's still a lot of them are still at market caps that are reasonable, even for the people who want to make a small investment, to look at and say, I could 10x this, or I could 50x this in the next bull market. So I love how they're onboarding a base. I love their mission statement. I like the people who are behind it, who are running the program. And I really love, how they've launched the Coinbase Smart Wallet, and they're making it easy for people to go out there and buy their favorite token with their phone. And it's a couple clicks. It's really simplified. I like their NFT marketplace. Just everything that they're doing right now, I think they're following the right strategy and game plan to make this huge in 2025. When they first talked about the smart wallet and they first launched it, everybody thought, a lot of people thought in their head that it was just going to explode on day one, right? The realists knew that this was going to be an adoption, right? It was going to take some time. I'm one of those people who's, tempered my expectations and know that this is like months, if not a couple of years, to really build that user base, because that's what it comes down to. You have to build a user base first. Um, and the way they've done it is, made everything simple, cheap, simple, fast. And again, my favorite part is the memes, because that's the culture right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm most bullish on base. I mean, my show is called Late Night on Base, and I think what stands out to me is specific. And I'm a DJ myself. I've been on every chain. Actually, 2023, I was heavy into Pulse Chain. I don't think you knew that about me. And my thesis was after 2021 cycle and seeing Ethereum gas fees, for in the height of the bull run, it was like $200, $300, and it was like a rich man's paradise. That's not the average individual. They can't afford to spend, 20% of their transaction going to gas fees. So I always thought there has to be a layer two or a different layer that's going to be cheap. Obviously, BSC had its time in 2021. In 2023, I thought it was going to be Pulse Chain because, again, transaction fees were pennies.
Yeah,
And, I
I thought
like
it was
Pulse
going to
Chain.
be
What's up?
I thought it was going to be Arbitrum.
Yeah. So there's a need for that. And I thought, okay, you thought Arbitrum, I thought Pulse Chain. And it wasn't until February, March, then it just clicked for me that base is the play. I think it all comes with leadership. Coinbase is by far the highly regulated, probably the top 2 exchange in the whole world, if not the number 1. They do things the right way, and they're the key to bringing the onboard the normies, quote unquote. They have a mission. When I interviewed Jesse Pollock at the event on Chain Summit SF, and if you haven't watched it, guys, please go to. It was actually featured on the Coinbase Wallet app, and on pods.media. We'll put a link to it. But in it, he specifically says Base's goal is to onboard the next 1 to 2 billion users on chain. And they're doing it, as you said, by simplifying it so the retail user doesn't even realize they're using Ethereum or crypto. So they're paying for the gas fees. They have the smart wallet. So that's the stuff like your grandma, your grandpa, your aunt, your uncle are going to use. Now, when you come on to Base, what I do love about Base is it's not saturated. As you were saying, Gravano, the top memes are the top memes. It's quality over quantity. And if I'm a regular user, I don't have time to scour, the thousands of things on Solana where there's like 3 or 4, but I can go onto Base, see the opportunity, and I can get in. So I'm with you on that. Now tell me, I want to get into this and altcoinness, and we'll wrap it up. Tell me though, you're huge into CTOs. You talked about Niggles. I love Niggles as well. What is it about CTOs that you specifically like?
Yeah, I would not say that I'm solely into CTOs. Like, I don't. Um, yeah, I would say that I have. They're kind of close to my heart.
Sure.
And what I appreciate about CTOs is, like, in the past, used to see so many rug pulls, right? Um, and that was like every day. And I got caught up in several of them. I mean, you're not a degen unless you've been, tangled up in a
Of
handful of
course.
rug pulls. It's just, and unless you're, somebody who's just an expert at reading code and contracts, looking at smart contracts, you're, you're not necessarily naive, but you're going to get fooled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And developers could easily just drain the pool after a few hours and walk away and launch another token the next day, right?
Or like a
It
delayed honeypot or something.
yeah, it was that easy. And who was left behind to pick up the pieces? It was like people like me and you who were talking about the coin, and somebody's pointing the finger at saying, "Oh, you talked about it, and it's your
Yeah.
fault." Well, I get it. It's the nature of the game. But you don't hear as much about the rug pulls lately. And what you see a little bit more now is that developer might be weak or just not committed to the project and wants to walk away. And you have people in the community who kind of pool their strengths together, multiple people, and basically say, hand it over to me. I got somebody who can run marketing. I got somebody who can talk to exchanges. I got somebody who can do this and do that. And they rally the rest of the community who, are people just the normies who have spent their, $100, $200, but they're now, financially and emotionally invested in the project. They don't want to see it just die and walk away, right? They
Mm,
enjoyed being in the Telegram channel, talking, and rallying around the coin. So you get people who are willing to run with it and rally the community around them and pick it up, and they're doing that without a ton of funding behind them. They're doing it without um, locked up supply. Like they're at oftentimes there are so many disadvantages to start. So when CTOs are successful, you get that like added sense of appreciation for the hurdles that they had to overcome, and their ability to rally around the community, the base community that was already there, rather than, and I don't take this away from the cabal nature of projects, but some of those projects on day one are at $50 million market cap, right? And it's because they have immediately locked up supply in certain wallets. Um, I don't want to go say artificial, but there's always the optics
mhm.
when you see a project and boom, the chart goes like this, and it's at 20, 30, $40 million market cap, it's just going up. And it kind of causes a chain reaction. People just want to jump on it. But when you see those slow cooks where they start off at $500,000 market cap, and over the course of weeks, they just slowly keep going up, keep going up, keep going up. And unlike some of those Cabal coins that will shoot up 23 to $40 million market cap, and then 2 days later have a 50% retrace. The CTOs, it's not as common to see something like that, right? Because you have more diamond hand holders,
Mhm.
um, people who started off with very little and are just committed to the project and the community, and I kind of like, you know, it's just like it's more of like a feel good thing for me. And I see people who aren't necessarily developers and um, you know, not even professionals in the space, but have worked to, and I've worked closely with some of these people who like made the contacts with exchanges, worked hard to find out how to get projects listed on Dex Tools and Dex Screener, and just like got through all the how tos to make something successful. And then like you get people who are just like crazy about raiding the project, and they run like the daily or weekly raid sessions, and like they get the whole community kind of rabid about it. That's what I appreciate about CTOs, and that's why I enjoy investing in some of them.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think it's those CTOs are the ones that kind of give the little man the opportunity to change your life. And then you have kind of like what Murad was saying, you have evangelists, basically brand ambassadors for life, who are just going to be, if they got in early enough versus the other cabal controlled, where you see a just giant green candle up to like 30 or 40 million, it's artificial, but you also know the little person didn't have a chance to get in. So I try to avoid those ones as well. Um, but I love to hear those thoughts. I want to end it on this, Gravano. You recently started getting to content creation with the altcoinist community. That's actually how I'm actually a part of your inner circle now, your private community, because I wanted to support you. And I love it. I've loved every single moment of it because I feel like I get to know you on a much deeper level than I would have otherwise. So tell me and tell us what made you now want to get into the content creation game.
Well, I felt like a going out and posting on Twitter was kind of like, it wasn't a bi-directional communication. It was just a one-way thing, and it felt too much like shilling at times, and it still is. But I try to I try to engage the community as much as I can when I'm
Mm,
posting on Twitter. Um, when I found altcoinist and I talked to the guys from altcoinist, by the way, my VC, the guys that I work with, are early investors in altcoinist. Really, really respect what those guys are doing. Two great guys too, and so when I also took my account again, like I said, after years of being anonymous, and now showing my face and being more of a public figure, I figured this was just naturally a better way to engage my audience and have that bi-directional conversation, not me shilling something, more like me telling you, I found this, think it's pretty cool. might be something we want to look at. But what do you think, Bill? Like, do you have anything that you're looking at? Like, and then all my members who are joining this community, coming in and having the opportunity where they might get lost in the weeds on X, in a smaller setting, being able to say, hey, I found this, want to take a look at it? And I go, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me look at it. Right. And it's not just a platform for me, but it's a platform for my members to kind of get their ideas out there. And listen, like maybe they can ping, like they can find a runner, and then I can go and kind of elevate them on social media, on X or something, and say, hey, this account, hit me up and gave me this project, and it just did a 50x. And like, I think people need that too. But it's not just for calls, right? And that's typically what you see in like some Telegram channels and on X, right? People are just like, people with bigger accounts are just posting their calls. I wanted to kind of go a little deeper and go in some different directions. I wanted to start talking to people about like crypto taxes, and find people who could solicit businesses that could offer services to my members, and help them with their taxes. Talk about everything from like wellness and health and fitness to other things that I see guys and girls in some of the other channels try and start a conversation about, but it kind of gets, again, lost in the weeds in a huge setting. Kind of like, again, draw it down to a smaller setting and get more of that direct conversation, and giving people the opportunity to come in like direct one-on-one, have conversation with me. And I think that was where I think my social profile lacked at times. I wasn't finding all those people to have the direct one-on-one engagement with. And I think this is a setting where I can, about different topics. It doesn't just have to be the meme of the day. So, and I'm hoping this is going to branch out into, so many other aspects of the business, possibly bring in other startups maybe to come in and talk about whether it's their coin with good fundamentals or another meme coin or something like that, where they can actually come and shill their own and come and talk about it. And I invite them in. Other business professionals who want to talk about certain aspects of the chains that they're working on, or how their business could change the landscape of blockchain and how we do business. Just new kind of exciting things that we can see coming down the road in the next 12 months. So I kind of it's all to spark that conversation and do it in a setting where, again, it's more like the direct back and forth engagement.
As I told you the first day that I joined in the group, I told you specifically, Gravano, this is going to be huge. You're on the forefront of, first of all, the communities. It's actually one of my pinned communities that I have on Telegram every day. I love it a lot. And what you're creating is special, and you're one of the first movers doing it. So I have no doubt if you continue down this path, you create this family feel, people are going to want to be a part of it more than just for calls. There's so much in life that they can learn from, mentorship and so many aspects. So I do like that a lot. Gravano, any last words do you have for your community?
I would just say that, especially with the last week or two, the way the market has looked, if you haven't been around for a couple of cycles already, just have faith that everything does run in cycles, that things are going to pick up again. Don't be the doomsday guy. Keep working. And again, my mentality has always been that whatever you want to be, whether it's in another business or here in crypto, manifest it. Like, wake up every morning and tell yourself, I'm going to be successful at this. I'm going to do whatever I have to do from the time I get up till the time I, close the lid of that laptop. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to learn and get better and achieve what I want to do in this space. I think only the people who are actually convinced and committed to succeeding in this business are the ones that'll actually achieve it. So you gotta you got to be fully invested mentally into this, and don't let people tell you, that this is just a hobby or crypto is a scam, or or you're throwing your time away in this. Listen, there's a lot of success stories in this business. I feel like I've done all right over the last 7 years. Again, I've created I've created financial independence for myself. Uh, through years of hard work. It's not an overnight success story. It won't be for 99% of you. Um, it's something like anything else that you got to dedicate your time and effort to. But just like I said, always just keep that message in your mind that I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to be great at it. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to learn what I got to learn, and make smart decisions. And the more you just convince yourself, the more it motivates you to do it, and eventually you get there.
Well said. My friend, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this on Spotify or you're listening to the audio version on pods.media, head over to YouTube where you'll see the video file. Also, we'll put Gravano's couple things. We'll put his X account. Also, a link to his private community on Alquinist. I highly recommend you join it. I'm in it. You get access to me, access to Gravano, and it's just really good family feel. Also, you'll have on YouTube our accounts information on X. If you haven't done so already, just please like and subscribe. That's all we ask for. Helps us produce banger content like this on the regular, and it's free. So everyone, until next time.